Nigeria. And in the studio this morning, we do have a guest. I want to be sure we're on air. Okay, all right. So, of course, in the studio this morning, we do have a guest. And, of course, today we'll be taking a look at price and issues here in Nigeria. Adeola Yusuf is the team lead, Platforms Africa. And, of course, he's an authority in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. Thank you for being here on the program today, Adeola.
My pleasure to be on the program. Thanks.
Right. This is going to be a quick conversation. And I'm going to start this way. The question here is, in the last 2 weeks, we've heard that, of course, fuel, that's PMS, is not ready for rollout at the Dangote refinery, but there seems to be an issue with pricing. And the question a lot of people are asking is, why is Alhaji Aliko Dangote waiting on the federal government to fix the price of petrol?
Okay, thank you so much. It is a question to, quickly raise a caveat that Alhaji Aliko Dangote is in the best position to answer. But based on, observations and analysis of the industry, I think it's important that we cast our minds back to what I said here when some Nigerians were, queuing behind Aliko Dangote or NNPCL during that misunderstanding.
Right.
So I think they would have had the shock of their life. With an announcement by one of those that they are queuing behind against another person, saying it's going to be the other party that will dictate or determine its pricing. Everything boils down to the fact that, the statement, the action and inaction of anyone in this, arrangement is based on business interest. So it was so shocking, but as God will have it, allow me to use that word. The NNPCL has come out to, react to that statement by Alhaji Aliko Dangote, saying that what should determine the price or the pricing of the PMS at Aliko Dangote's refinery or any other refinery for that matter should be the free market.
Right.
So, and that will tell you, that Dangote refinery too Dangote or maybe the refinery, they are not coming out clear or clean to Nigeria as to the true state of things. I understand that statement came from the point of view of maybe the government will want to continue with the subsidy or
not, because NNPCL did say that if they sold to them at a price lower than the pump price, then it means that they would have to offtake. And again, that leaves a lot of people asking that question, would we still continue payment of subsidy?
Okay, thank you. So what happened that I can say for fact or for free is that the production cost of petrol at Dangote refinery as we speak now, production cost means how much you have finished spending on it, to get to that production. Profits. Yes, production cost at Dangote refinery, is more than the pump price we were buying before this, hike.
Okay.
So what that will mean will be that, is to dash the hope of a lot of Nigerians that have asked me questions, even outside of a television studio, that, okay, so if Dangote comes, on stream, Dangote, start producing petrol, does it mean that we'll be buying cheaper? So that shows clearly that Nigerians shouldn't put their minds or their hope in that kind of arrangement.
Okay.
Yeah. So the president has, on May 23rd, 2023, 2023, declared in what we call
subsidy is gone.
Yes, subsidy is gone. So we call it the Eagle Square Declaration. And despite the fact that some behind-the-scene arrangements, were ongoing, they love to call it differential, they love to call it, under recovery, we were paying subsidy until a few days ago when the NNPC, it jacked up the price of PMS. So now we are waiting to see who will now say that, is doing under recovery or doing, differential.
Right. I particularly like the fact that, you laid it clear here that a lot of Nigerians were thinking that with the incoming of the Dangote refinery production, then it means that we'll start buying at cheaper prices. But again, let's go to that sector, the oil and gas sector, is usually referred to as one sector that is dictated by global markets. And so irrespective of what it is that is done in Nigeria, you'd also still take into consideration what the global market is dictating. How does that come to play here?
Okay, thank you so much. Quickly, the forefathers of Nigeria, they had, they have seen this that is happening to us, and they laid some foundations to make sure that we evade this trouble that we are in now. Okay, so they put in place refineries, 4 refineries with cumulative capacity of 445,000 barrels. And they made an arrangement that whatsoever barrel, the value of barrel, the number of barrels that we're producing in country daily, we allocate 445,000 to those refineries to refine. So what that will mean is that if we are, producing crude oil in Nigeria, we have refineries in Nigeria, and we're refining those products, that certain value, certain, barrels that I've mentioned in Nigeria. Issues about the variables in the global market shouldn't affect us.
Okay.
So, but unfortunately, for so many years now, over a decade now, none of those 4 refineries is producing.
And NNPCL has kept telling us that at least one of those refineries should be delivered, but again, they keep moving the date. The next date is October. If I'm correct. And so if we're going to get away from this current situation, many have also said maybe perhaps this is the time for the NNPC to again hands off those refineries and probably allow private investors. If we go back by the era of President Olusegun Obasanjo, they were privatized. And so one would have thought at this moment in time, we should actually have gone beyond all of this situation. Are we ever going to get out of the situation anytime soon? Okay,
so we should get out of the situation if 2 things are in place. Number 1, we get rid of corruption. Number 2, let there be transparency. Then let me add the 3rd one, let there be clear-cut communication.
Right.
The government is not sincere to us that are suffering this.
Okay.
And the reason is because they are not communicating to us.
Right.
The sector is, terribly misunderstood.
Right.
And nobody is communicating to Nigeria as a true state of things. Now, remember before this October deadline for Port Harcourt Refinery, we've had December deadline, December last year deadline. At the end of everything,
deadlines this year.
Yes, at the end of that, the minister came up to say the refinery was mechanically completed. You understand? Up till now, a liter has not been produced from that refinery. Let me now shock you. Every day, I was in Port Harcourt Refinery a few months ago. If you get to the complex of that Port Harcourt, that is not producing anything, you will see their garage, you see exotic cars parked there. They will drink, they will get salary, they will get.
And they are doing nothing.
They will travel for
trainings or whatever.
Trainings and everything. You understand? We are spending a lot there. What I would just say about that, instead of NNPC to now privatize those refineries, because I know that there's an arrangement for Warri Refinery, there's an arrangement for Kaduna Refinery. NNPC already is is supposed to be running as a private entity, with the signing into law of the PIA.
Right.
Now, what NNPC is supposed to do now to make that job easier is to, and as part of PIA, NNPC is supposed to be listed on the stock exchange. Certain percentage of NNPC share is supposed to have been sold. You understand? So that Nigerians or maybe private entities that are expecting now can be part of it, and every year, even though they are publishing the books of NNPC, financial books of NNPC, but it's going to be more transparent when many people have, stake in it. So that is supposed to be done. When that is done, it is going to create competition for Dangote Refinery.
Right.
Other refineries are coming on board, and when you understand the simple principle of demand and supply that relates to pricing, if the supply we are having in terms of refined product, is more than the demand, definitely it's going to affect the price. I'm not saying we are going to be buying it at 100 naira per liter, but definitely, and aside from that, it's going to save us a lot of stress. You will not even imagine Nigerians, where crude oil is being produced, queuing up for the commodity.
Right.
We cannot even say for sure how much, if you have but you can't budget for fuel.
No,
because you don't know how much you buy it.
Yes, you
and
can't.
tomorrow you don't know how much it's going to be. So that is lack of clear-cut communication. I think government will do well if they seriously work on that.
Before we allow you go this morning, Giola, let's also quickly talk about the fear of the independent marketers. Here they are also saying that because they cannot ascertain how much Dangote Refinery will sell, they probably will be looking at importing the product from where they find it cheaper. And yet, we're talking about running away from adulterated fuel for the fear that, you know, whatever we buy may also wreak havoc on our vehicles. Where do they stand?
Okay, the statement from the independent marketers, just like their name connotes, marketers, you know, everything is being driven by profit. Okay, we have to establish that. Dangote is a Nigerian, he has done well, and he has established a $20 million, you know, refinery. But you cannot take away profits from
He's a
his interest.
businessman.
You understand? Okay, now the marketers will want to look at where their profit margin will be guaranteed. Dangote will want to look at where the profit margin. So now the government is supposed to, through various regulators, for the downstream, we have the NMDPRA. They're supposed to now take charge to ensure that Nigerians are safe, you know, in the hands of the businessmen who are more interested in their own profit. So, but you can't, you know, take. I don't take the statement by marketers so seriously because of the fact that it was driven by, you know, business interests.
Right, and it's their own selfish
and
interest.
it's their own just selfish, you understand? So, but the government should ensure that even if they are getting it from outside the country, they are not bringing out products that are substandard.
Right.
That will not now start. You remember, you know, a few years ago,
yes.
that you know, vehicles were engines were just getting spoiled. So government should take charge to ensure that, you know, marketers, they are businessmen, they can look at where they can, you know, get the products cheaper, but the standard has to protect it.
Going forward, what should the federal government be doing in the immediate, especially going back by what you said earlier? Nigerians want to hear the truth. Nigerians wants to be communicated to. Nigerians want to know the true picture of what's going on. But we're waiting on Mr. President to return from his trip to talk about whether or not FEC will hit to the core by Dangote and fix a price. Going forward, what are your expectations? Okay,
there was some disappointments. Let me quickly mention one of them. The statement by the president, even though he won't retrieve that statement, the Eagle Square Declaration was a mistake because of the fact that refineries ought to have started working before you now do that. But mistakes have been made. The president needs to now communicate to Nigeria, be sincere with what is. I know he's sincere. You understand? Maybe because all the presidential candidates then, all of them said that they will do this, that they will remove subsidy. But at least there are some steps we need to take because you must take into consideration the sufferings by Nigeria. Things are very, very tough and very, very hard. So the president needs to take charge now, ensure that he gets daily briefing from the ministers of state for petroleum resources. By the arrangement, the president is the minister of petroleum. Based on the fact that he has minister of state. So he should take daily briefing, ensure that Dangote, other refineries, all of them are working, and ensure through competition that will be beneficial to Nigerians. Then let me just urge Nigerians: nobody should queue up behind anybody. I'm talking of if you hear Dangote fighting, and don't take sides. Because at the end of the day, you are still going to be the one to buy fuel at higher price. You're still going to be the one to queue up. You understand? All those people, when they want to settle this matter, they will settle it on a table where you will not be called, to.
Okay. All right, we'll have to leave it here this morning. Thank you so much, Adeola, for being here on the program today.
My pleasure always.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, another conversation will be here today. And today, again, we're looking at citizens' rights in a democracy and the face of alleged harassments going on in every sector, well, not every, but major sectors of the Nigerian economy. That conversation is after this short break.